The Backyard Brawl returns, and so do West Virginia's classic blown lead late game collapses. Oh my God, Harry.
Yep. We've seen this before. At least what, twice last
I
year?
didn't want to believe it. I thought this shit was different. And they did it again, Harry. Late. The mistakes. Before we get into that, I got a little rant to start off with. I've been in Neal Brown's corner more than most West Virginia fans, I feel like. I think he's a great dude. I think he's good for building culture. I think he's great for recruiting. I mean, we've seen West Virginia have the best recruiting class ever with their 22 class, and it looks like the 23 class is going to top it. But this dude is not a head coach of a Division I program. That's just it. I mean, I don't know if you saw it. I know a couple people saw the interaction between him and Pitt's coach before the game. Pitt coach was mic'd up. They came together to shake hands. The Pitt coach gave him, put his hand over his shoulder, said, "Oh, here we go. You ready for the backyard brawl?" Brown's like, "Oh, it's a lot of hype for one game." Like, he sounded like a mouse. He got broed. You know when like a bully tries to bro you, like he shakes your hand obnoxiously hard or puts his arm. Neal Brown got broed on national TV. Yeah. Like, he's out of his element. And then we saw it late in the game with the blown fourth down call where he didn't go for it, like we saw all last year in the Oklahoma game and every close game where he got scared and tried to play too defensive and conservative, and he lost it every time. I don't think Neal Brown's the guy, Harry.
I don't know. I thought he did all right until the fourth down, but I was a little more on the fence than a lot of people. Yeah. But I mean, it's 4th and 1, and you have a back that's averaging, what was it, 12 yards a carry, 14 yards a carry.
It was 20. It was 20 yards a carry. Yeah.
And you're playing a rival. I think I'd go for that. There's what, 7 minutes, 6.5 minutes left in the game. I think you got to go for that. In that game, you got to go for it.
Even Mathis was averaging, he was struggling a little more, but he was running pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go for that and you get that fourth down, it changes. You win the game. Like that.
I mean, we were having success running the ball. I think we had the most rushing yards on them since of any team since 2019 is what they were saying.
And Pitt was on their heels at that point. The previous play, Slovis looked shook. He got sacked like 3 times. He looked nervous. He was nervous in the pocket. He was shook. And you come out with that chance, and as soon as that fourth down, you kick that ball, the momentum switched, and Pitt took over the rest of the game, and then it was over.
I mean, you can't predict what was going to happen unless you're a, conspiracy guy, West Virginia.
No, I mean, it could have, conversely, if he goes for it, he doesn't get it. I think they were at the 50, they score. You're going to blame him for it. But as Mike Tomlin always says, man, you can't live in your fears.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got the momentum. You got to play with the momentum, instead of conservative, especially in a close game like that in the waning seconds of the fourth quarter, waning minutes, like, ugh.
Yeah, I think the way the offense was running the ball, you got to go for it.
Yeah, it's not like that's the thing. It's not like we were struggling to get yards at that point. We were doing pretty good, and it was fourth down. They were stopped, but we were running the ball quarter, man. Like, you got to.
Yeah, I mean, even the other back was averaging like 4 yards carry.
Yeah, I mean, Mathis was doing good. Like, he was, and then we got that rookie who needs to be first string running back. Like, I don't know why he didn't touch the ball till the second quarter, and then again till like late third quarter.
Now they start giving him the ball a little more, but you're going to see him play more. He tore it up.
He's a monster. Like, Steve Slayton on Twitter even gave him the, Steve Slayton. Okay, he said this guy's legit. What else do you need if you're a West Virginia fan?
That's what you need. Some of these guys that come out of nowhere to step up and be big time. I mean, he might be that guy by the end of the season.
Yeah,
he looked really good, and that wasn't an easy, defense either. So.
And it was a tough environment, man. And the biggest selling sports event in Pittsburgh history, not Pitt history, Pittsburgh history. 70,000 people in attendance somehow, which doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I was surprised. I think they genuinely had a home field. There was a lot of Pitt fans. There was a lot of West Virginia fans, but more Pitt fans.
Now, I've heard varying reports. Like, a lot of Pitt fans are talking shit and saying, "Oh, there's barely 25%, Pitt fans here." or West Virginia fans. Then I've heard ESPN said it was like 60-40. So it was pretty close. ESPN certainly didn't show any West Virginia fans. We're keeping them out. But
I
you
don't know.
could hear them.
From the pictures I saw a lot of Pitt fans. I think there was probably a decent amount of West Virginia fans, maybe 70-30 or
I think it was pretty close to
75,
40. I heard a lot of West Virginia fans bought Pitt season tickets just to go to that game.
It was a big game.
Yeah. So, more of the same. What we saw last year, what we've seen every year as a West Virginia fan. They're running the game. Not running the game. It's a close game, but they're in control at this point. And then it starts with the 4th down, and then the line starts getting into penalty troubles like we saw, a false start here, like 3 false starts in a series.
Yeah.
And then, the fumbled pass at the worst time of the game. Wheaton's having a great game. The ball hits him in the chest, man. He's wide open. There's no pressure. It's a perfect pass. And it just pops up and right there, and the game's over at that point.
Yeah, that's what.
Over and over again with this team.
That was terrible. That was tough, and that took all the momentum.
There was like 3 minutes at that point. I mean, and then credit to JT Daniels though, and this is what I want to talk about after we get into this collapse. The man comes down. There's a couple seconds left. He throws the ball with a second left. Now, in my personal opinion, that's not a catch. It's low. But a few previous plays earlier, we saw the same thing on Pitt's side. That ball hit the ground to their tight end, and they called it a catch. I think if you call that one a catch, you got to call this one a catch.
I mean, that last one definitely wasn't a catch.
To me, they're both not. Like, to me, if the ball hits the ground, it's not a catch. Like, hands on top. I don't think they're both the catch, but if you call the first one, I feel like you got to call the second one.
It can hit the ball. It can hit the ground if you have control of the ball and it doesn't move at all.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's the rule, but to
Like
me, if it hits the ground, you don't have control.
It can touch the ground. But the last one, I mean, you clearly saw the ground helped him trap it. Like, it was still moving.
Yeah. I don't think either were a catch, in my opinion. Like, those are not catches to me, but I don't know. That rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I'm not too mad at that because I don't think it was a catch, but I'm a little pissed if you call that other one and then not this.
I think all in all, I don't really blame. I think the officials, there were some bad calls both ways, not a ton. Pitt had made some big mistakes. It was a little sloppy. Maybe it was because of the first game of the year. Maybe there was a lot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
You saw that with the line in the beginning. We had the first 3 drives. I feel like there was an offensive penalty, false start or something like that. But I think it's just unfortunate. It's just, if you want to be a great team or a good team, you got to find a way to do it, and that's what we didn't do.
Yeah,
you had it. You played great. 6 minutes up by 7. You think, oh, things are going perfect. You let them come down the field quick, score. And then very next play, the bad thing happens. And then we can't finish the drive. But, I mean, I'm not knocking the offense. I thought they did good with what they were.
And we'll get into that. There is some positives here.
Yeah.
I just thought of it too. Another thing that just annoyed me about Neal Brown, and I hate to be that guy, but in his post-game press conference, he said something like, I thought we played pretty good for a game in national. We represented ourselves well on national TV. And that's just something, like, in this level of football, losing like that is not representing yourself well.
I mean, if this wasn't a thing that has happened, especially after last year, and considering the past, if this was just a one-off thing, yes, I'd agree. Yeah, you played well.
For Coach in Troy at that level of football, you represented yourself good enough. For West Virginia in the Backyard Brawl with 70,000 people in attendance, no, I don't think you did. I don't think you did.
I mean, this just happened. It happens too much.
Over and over again.
It's way too much. It's frustrating not to be able to win this game.
Yes. But let's, it's the start of a new season. Let's try to be positive a little bit.
I'll say one positive thing. I feel better. Last night I was frustrated. But the next morning, today, I will say I feel better now than I did last year after the Maryland game and after the Oklahoma game.
Well, here's some positives, I guess. Pitt is a good team. I don't think they're as good as last year, obviously, but they're a good team. ESPN claims they got one of the best defenses in the country. We'll see how they do this year. They do have a solid line. So if that's the toughest line or one of the toughest lines we play this year, that's good. It is the first game of the season, and there's no preseason. We saw it last year. West Virginia took a few games to warm up. Their defense looked terrible in the Maryland game. And then a few games later, they turned into one of the best defenses in the Big 12. The line looked terrible early. They got better each game. Even in the Townsend game. Was it Townsend they played? Who was that? No, it wasn't Townsend. I think that's this year. That ever freebie game, week 2, they played last year. I can't remember who it was. That crappy ass team that came in just to get exposure. I don't want to insult. I just can't remember the name. Whoever it was. The line looked really bad against West Virginia's line looked bad in that game. I was like, Harry, if our line can't hold up against this, we're in trouble. But they got better. So I'm saying that to say, hey, if this is our starting point for this season, we can only improve, right? So that's a good sign. Another sign, our boy JT Daniels won Harry over in that game, I think. You were very skeptical about him, but I could see texting you during the game, you slowly turn into a JT Daniels fan as this game went on.
I mean, I wasn't on the bandwagon to start the season.
You were skeptical.
I was skeptical. I was curious. But yeah, I mean, I thought he played great.
I could feel your excitement build from him throughout the game.
He's the best QB, I mean, we've had since Greer. And yeah, it's nice to have a QB. It showed. I mean, the guy didn't look rattled at all. He had pressure in his face. He would step up. He would he looked super calm. He was so calm. Sometimes they would snap the ball, and I thought the play was dead because he's just chilling there. I mean,
he is.
He never got right. He was pretty accurate. He made some good throws.
Yeah.
I mean, he got hit a couple times, and there were a couple lucky catches like that.
Wheaton
I think
catch.
it was like a third down. He got hit in the arm, and the ball just kind of floated up, and Wheaton went and made a play. But he played good. It was nice to see a QB actually make throws. I don't blame him at all. And even on the last play of the game, that fourth down, he gave him a chance. It was close.
Right there.
So I mean, I don't blame him at all. I think I think he's probably the main reason I feel better than I did last year. Was kind of just like I don't see a bright spot on this team, especially at QB. It was just like, man, that might be our worst position out there. This year with JT, I feel he probably the best position out there. I mean, he looks like the best player on the team. And he looked good, and you get him next year. So I still think it's going to be a rough season. But
well,
it's promising.
How do you feel about the defense? Because one thing you didn't like going into this season was the defense, and I felt like they looked really well for the most part.
The front looked good. The front looked really good, way better than I was expecting. The secondary, they played
soft.
Great, but I didn't expect them to be very good. So they played better, but it hurts that you lost one of your best defensive backs.
Yeah, that hurt a lot.
So that's a blow. But I don't know. We'll see. It's tough to judge because Pitt's under center. They're going to run the ball. And when they got in shotgun, they had a lot of success, which is kind of a little bit of a red flag. And that could be worse when you play the Big 12 because you're going to play a lot of teams that are going to play spread.
You find out against Texas, I think, how bad or good that secondary really is.
All the teams, with the exception of maybe one or two, are going to be aired out. So that's a little worrisome. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't say it's better than last year. I think I don't feel like we were lucky to be in that game. I don't feel like the team was way, but like last year against Oklahoma, it was like, man, Oklahoma's playing bad. We got a chance. Our defense is playing crazy.
Yeah, they really shot themselves in. Defense was really good in that game, but Oklahoma also shot themselves in the foot a lot.
I mean, we were right there. I think we played just as good, looked better at times. The game was back and forth. We didn't look like the worst team. If they were ranked 17, we looked like we were 18. I mean, that was good at least.
Yeah,
maybe it's
100%.
sometimes styles make fights. Maybe it was because they're a running team, a slower team, and but
Mhm.
I think a big advantage that they had going into the game was the defense and the defensive line. And I mean, we gave them their worst game that they've had in a couple years. So
Yeah.
there's
I
some
will
good
say
things to look at.
this was a brawl. It was a brawl. And West Virginia nowadays really isn't built for that type of football. And they stood their ground. In the Big 12, like you said, it's a lot of air it out football and heavy offense. So I think, especially for at least our offense, Graham Harrell and JT, we're going to do really well. Now, can our
Yeah.
secondary hold up in that type of offense and that type of play?
That will
That's what
be
we don't know. Yeah.
that's the big question.
Mhm.
That's probably the difference in going to a bowl or not.
Yeah.
Was this
Other,
just
yeah. Other
a
than that,
matchup
a few
thing?
surprises. Like it's funny because you feel better about our defense. I thought our defense was going to be okay. I feel better about our defense first. I actually feel worse about our offense than I did going into the season, and not because of JT. He was what I expected. Uh, I don't know. And maybe again, first game of the season, it could get better. Our wide receivers, other than Wheaton, were really bad. Like
Yeah.
really, really bad. Like he had no one else to throw to that whole game. I think Sam James caught maybe a pass or two. Our tight end caught a pass. Who else caught a pass that game other than Wheaton?
I think prayed to have one.
One, and he had like 3 really bad drops.
But yeah, it was rough. Yeah, I
There
mean,
there was a lot of balls in chest, wide open, that just got dropped. Like
we talked last night. I mean, you're seeing that Winston Wright transfer
hurt.
hurts because having that play guy underneath, that
Yeah.
short little slot guy, catch the short passes, make some moves, get
Mhm.
separation. He was a playmaker. That hurt because I mean, really, like you said, all you had was Wheaton.
Yeah.
He
And
was
now,
great, played great, and he's a matchup problem. But who else? I mean, they started putting a safety over top on him, and it
yeah.
becomes a lot tougher. The
And
good thing the run game was
it's the
going.
first game of the season. It's a brawl. It's a backyard brawl. It's a huge
Yeah.
game. 70,000 people in attendance, man. ESPN primetime. Celebrities out the ass are there. Maybe it'll get like, let's
It
give
was
these guys
fun.
benefit of the doubt, I guess. You know, it's a big stage. JT obviously is a star. He wasn't affected by it at all. He looked like it was, Friday night at the college, man. Like through the whole
Yeah,
thing.
that guy.
Like you said, calm as shit.
I mean, he's played at big schools. He played at USC. He played at
Yeah.
Georgia. So maybe
And he
that
was
hype and that
he,
stuff
he
doesn't bother him.
and
But
he was a
yeah,
freaking star in high school. Like this guy was a freaking legit star in high school. Like huge, a 5-star NFL prospect before he ever saw a college stadium. So he's used to it. Maybe the rest of these guys will step up.
I hope so. It would be a waste because we
Yeah.
have what looks to be a really good QB, and it would be a waste to have no help around him. I mean, it looked good maybe with Donaldson, freshman. He
Mhm.
seems like a playmaker.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of potential. That could be really good, but we need some receivers. We need somebody
We
else to step up.
we ran down the throat of one of the best defensive fronts in college football.
Mhm.
So if we can keep that up, man. I like the run. I like JT. Can our offense not be hindered by the wide receiver depth and Neal Brown?
Yeah.
That's it. Like if we can get over those hurdles, if Neal Brown can stop playing scared, maybe give Graham Harrell more of the reins, and if our wide receivers can play better, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, having a run game is big, and even in the Big 12, you're going to need, especially with our secondary the way it is, having a run game that can chew the clock
Yeah,
against a lot of these teams that are built to defend the pass will be big.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's promising.
That's
We'll
it.
see. You got a QB.
And I will say, before this, I said if they lose this game, or even if it's close win, I'm gonna, my 9-3 prediction is gonna turn into a 6-6. I don't feel that. I'm not ready to abandon the 9-3 yet. Let's see Big 12 football. I mean, I think they can win. They're winning next week. After that's a gimme game. I think they beat Virginia Tech.
Oof, I don't know. Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech will be tough. That will be a tough game.
But they're
That's a
not
chance.
as good this year
They're
at
not as
all.
good as Pitt, but playing at Virginia Tech in a night game. It's a Thursday night, I think.
Well, that's the one good thing too about that. You played in Pittsburgh in front of their fans and 70,000 people on national TV. I don't think any away game is going to be bigger than that this season. So if you did that under this pressure, I'm not worried about Virginia Tech on a night game. I'm not.
This will be similar. I agree. I mean, this one was good.
Yeah.
But they played well. But you got to think, I mean, too, after you take a loss, how does that affect your demeanor, you know?
Well, luckily
you still have that same.
Luckily you got Kansas though. You got the gimme game after that. You got 2 weeks to build confidence.
Yeah, you got some games.
And really practice, build confidence. Not that Texas or Kansas is a walkover. I mean, let's be honest. They've given us problems the past year. So we should beat them, but
I mean, if you lose to Kansas, it's going to be a really bad
then the
season.
season's over. The season's over.
It's going to be.
If you almost beat Pitt, I don't see how you can lose to Kansas next week. I don't see how you lose that game. Unless you're emotionally shattered to the point of no return this week. I don't see it, but I'm feeling good. You beat that. You win the gimme game. I think you beat Virginia Tech. Then you got Texas and Baylor, and those games decide the season. Can you beat both of them? Do you split? If you split those games 1-1, I'm still feeling good. So
I'm a little on the Texas bandwagon this year. I think they're going to be tough.
I'm not. I think Texas is overrated. I think Baylor is the toughest opponent in those 2 games, and I've heard a lot of people say Baylor is going to be trash this year.
I think Baylor's going to be tough.
I think Baylor's better than Texas. I think Texas is overrated. I know they got a superstar quarterback, but there's been a lot of turnover in that program. I'll be surprised to see if they, and we'll see what they do the next few weeks before we get to West Virginia. So we'll know if they're legit or not.
Well, they have a big game against Alabama next week, so that will be a tough one.
There,
we won't get to see, do they just get obliterated or do they keep it close, look good?
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I'm glad we had Harry back for this. I don't know. Let me know how you guys feel. Like, it's obviously disappointing, but you guys hopes up for the rest of this season. Obviously, we got Harry on the JT Daniels bandwagon a little bit. But we'll see how the rest of the season goes. I'm still excited. It's still football season. We're glad it's back.
Yeah.
That fucking sucks. We're gonna have to hear.
We don't have to win everything this year. We get a lot of people back next year. Let's win. Let's build. Let's get a couple upsets. I feel really good going into next year. Kind of like Greer's first year.
Yeah.
We didn't do super great, but there was a lot of hype for that second year.
Mm-hmm.
JT could be the same thing. You get this running back, he ends up killing all year. Maybe next year's a special year, but there's potential.
And this is a good year too. Like you said, let's make some wide receivers want to come to West Virginia this year. That would be great. Let's show that if you come play for JT Daniels and Graham Harrell, you're going to get some yards and catch the ball. So that's it, guys. Man, let us know what you think in the comments. Follow. We'll be here, or I'll be here all season. Harry will be here occasionally when we can get him on the screen because he's a busy guy. He's got a lot going on. He's a superstar.
I don't know about that, but
it's hard to get this guy here.
We'll see.
He's here for these losses. That's for goddamn sure. We'll see you guys next week in Kansas. Let's go Mountaineers.
Later.